Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scouts. Today we are looking at the Gameweek 8 team news. My name is Joe and I'm joined by Fantasy Football Scout editor Neil. Neil, how are you?
Not too bad, Joe. Yeah, slightly less rushed off my feet than usual on a Friday because there's only 14 teams in action.
Yes.
And the press conferences were kind of divided up in half, so it's been pretty good actually this week in terms of getting some sleep and getting some lunch. Normally on a Friday, I eschew both and just plough straight through. But
it's amazing the difference that just missing 3 games can have. So the Crystal Palace Brighton game is off. We knew about that anyway. The Manchester United Leeds game is off as well. That's presumably because of the disruption in London affecting all those Manchester United fans that live there and in the Surrey area. And what was the other match? I've forgotten now. It was Liverpool Chelsea. That was it.
Yeah, just some low key game.
Rightio. So just before we start, I always like to say, how's Nathan Ferguson to you? Because he's always injured. But Crystal Palace aren't playing today. I had a message from Pep Talk on Twitter to tell me, give it up, Joe. Nathan Ferguson doesn't exist. So I'm to stop asking you about Nathan Ferguson, the forever injured Palace player. Because apparently he doesn't exist. So there we go then. So I won't ask you again. Meanwhile, there are players that do exist. Let's just go through the team news then and do it fixture by fixture.
Okay.
We're starting off with Aston Villa against Southampton. So what is the team news from... let's go with Villa first. What's the team news for Villa? I understand one of their strikers might be a doubt.
Yeah, and 3 of their goalkeepers as well, which is unusual. So we know for certain that Diego Carlos is out and Bednarek is ineligible, and Matty Cash as well is the newest addition to that injury list. They're all out. As for the flagged players, the yellow flag players, Watkins was the striker you alluded to there. He was ill earlier this week, and Gerrard said, I think this was yesterday, that they're going to make a late call on him.
Okay.
So we'll see if that prompts a start of Danny Ings. The goalkeepers I talked about, it's Martinez, Robin Olsen, who's his backup, and then Jed Steer, who's I think 3rd in the pecking order. Neither of those 3 were in training yesterday.
Okay.
Gerrard fairly confident on Martinez, though he's just been ill.
Yeah.
And he said he should recover. Olsen and Steer obviously just back up, so we're not too concerned about those. But that is one of the games tonight, so maybe we might get an early leak before the deadline.
Yeah, Gerrard did say that the words "no doubt," not the band. Presumably, he was just referring to Martinez there. So there's no doubt he will be available. So
he said no doubt, and then he went on to say, "I think."
There's absolutely no doubt. Maybe.
Definitely, maybe would be the summary of that.
Yeah, I'm not enjoying him. I'm not enjoying him as a manager in these team news chats. He's not.
No, he's part of that group with Howe, Morwich, and on Arteta again, and Moyes as well, who are very, very slippery with their team news. And we don't like that as fantasy managers.
Slippery Stephen. Southampton, Hassan Hootel, what has he been saying?
Well, good old Ralph. He's one of the good guys. He tells us what's happening. They are fully fit, if we believe him at his word, with the exception of 2 players, and that's Livramento, who's out for a long time, and Romeo Lavia as well, who's I think out until about mid-October with a muscular problem. But apart from that, everyone's okay.
Okay, so that's pretty good, really. There is a bit of interest in Southampton, actually, because we will need those cheaper players if we want to get, if we want to keep or get in any players from Liverpool or Chelsea and keep them on the bench. So these sort of players from Villa and Southampton are quite handy. So that's why we're probably talking about some of those a bit more this week, especially for those who are wildcarding and also those who aren't. Nottingham Forest and Fulham, more cheap players. Like Fulham, it's all about Mitrovic, presuming he's well, and lots of interest in him. But what sort of Nottingham Forest side will he face, bearing in mind they've just recruited almost, I believe, all professional footballers in the world suddenly in the last week or 2?
Yeah, and the latest, I think, was the 21st signing? That was Serge Aurier. And I think he's still awaiting a visa approval, but everyone else is, I say, on the books. There's still some players who are injured. So Neil Carty and Richards, who were 2 of the summer signings, they're still out. Mangala was another one. He had been back in training this week, but he has had a slight setback in his recovery. Cooper said 1 or 2 days. Now Cooper is he's on a different level to the aforementioned Howe and Moyes, because I think he just downright lies. Whereas I think Howe and Arteta just don't really tell us much. He'll probably sue me for slander now. They don't tell us much at all. Whereas Cooper tells us stuff that is designed to deceive, I think. So earlier in the season, he told us, I think that's ahead of the Newcastle game, that or one of the games, that one player was definitely out and the other was fine, and it turned out to be the other way around. And Mark Southerns of Scout fame, of course, has alerted me to this. This is not a new thing. This is something he's done repeatedly through the championship year. So we're going to have to get used to that.
Okay.
So who knows if we're going to turn up
massive
tomorrow.
Squad, massive porky pies. That's the message from Nottingham Forest. Fulham. Hopefully there's some other blokes to help Mitrovic score. Who's in and out there?
Well, Solomon and Wilson are still out long term with knee injuries, and Robinson's the latest doubt. Silva said it would be difficult for him to recover. He's a left back. They have got Kurzawa now who can come in and play, but again, he's lacking a bit of match fitness. So that's the injury situation. In terms of support for Mitrovic, well, they've actually been doing pretty well with the three behind him so far this season, but they have also got now Dan James, and they've got Willian as well, who we both saw as substitutes in Gameweek 6.
Before we move on to Wolves and Man City, just a reminder to everyone to subscribe. Make sure you don't want to miss these videos and podcasts as well. And also do press that like button. It's really helpful for us. Welcome to those almost 1,000 of you that have joined us in the live chat. Emu Show. I used to love the Emu Show when I was a kid. Faraz, Murphy, Nishanth, Sushant, another Hoops, Baron, Big Dog Cry, Metallica 1, Yugu, and so many more. Thanks so much for joining us, and hope you're enjoying these updates and you're finalising your team. The deadline's at 6:30 tonight as well, so we better get a move on, Joe. Better get a move on. Wolves against Man City. So, let's go with Man City first. They're the bigger side. Indeed. We're more interested in them. Now, there were some issues around Carl Walker. Some of the more sort of squad players this season, like Laporte, have been in and out in our thinking. What's the latest there from the Man City camp?
It's pretty good, really, on the team news front. So they've only got 2 players who are flagged. Laporte, who's been out for a long time, is back in training. So it's just match fitness now with him. He's not going to be involved this weekend, but he will come into contention after the international break. So it's another centre-half, full complement of 5. And they've also got Walker, who is, I think, 50% flagged. Okay. Now, he has been out, I think, since early September. Pep said he was better, I believe, today, but he still didn't know if he's going to feature this weekend. It's going to be a late call tomorrow after training, I think. But obviously expressing doubt there, and maybe he was pointing us in the direction of a no-show, but you never quite know with him. But he said he don't know if he's going to be ready for tomorrow.
Okay, and some of the popular players there, say for example, De Bruyne. Are we fairly confident that he's going to start? I hope so. I've just got him in my wildcard time.
Yeah, well, I'm going to move for him as well. I'm not wildcarding, but I'll be getting him for Salah as a temporary punt. But yeah, I would think so. I mean, the only nagging doubt is that it's a Wednesday, Saturday turnaround, which is traditionally signals danger on the rotation front. However, City didn't have a fixture last weekend, and it's the international break following. So I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem. We might see 1 or 2 changes. We saw like Bernardo and Foden benching midweek. I'm sure they'll come back in. Same with Diaz as well. Okay. I think it'll be pretty strong. And I'd have a very, very small doubt about De Bruyne.
Wolves, who they're facing, a couple of strikers who have been favourites in the past for FPL managers are in the discussion here. So who are we speaking about?
Yeah, the team news is all about the forward line. So Jimenez won't feature this weekend due to fatigue. This was reported a couple of weeks ago. I don't think it's tiredness per se. I think it's more muscular fatigue. He's not even in training. Diego Costa, remember him? Yeah. Still awaiting that 5th yellow card. He's back. He could be involved this weekend. I doubt very much whether he'll start against Man City. He's a free agent, so he's been out of the game for a little while. But he could be involved this weekend, according to Bruno Lager. So given the dearth of strikers, because it's not just those two, it's the other summer recruit, Sasa. Now, I haven't had a chance to perfect his name because he got injured after 45 minutes on his debut. Sasa Kalajic, I think.
Yeah.
Missing now for the next 6 months at least. He's had knee surgery.
Okay.
He came off on his debut after what seemed like an innocuous knock to the knee, and lo and behold, it's much more serious than that. So he's going to be out for the best part of the season. So yeah, Costa, keep an eye on his match fitness because he could be coming to a ground near you soon.
Okay, watch out, indeed. Newcastle against Bournemouth. It's the Eddie Howe derby. So let's go with Newcastle first, because once again, another team, a lot of interest, great fixtures on the horizon. Lots of people on wildcard have drafted in the likes of Pope and Trippier. But there's a few other players that have been in consideration and who are on the injury list. So yeah, who are they, and how is their condition ahead of this?
Yeah, well, we don't know how the condition is, sadly, thanks to Mr. Howe. So Maximin was certainly someone who was in the scout squad bus team earlier this week. We were confident he was going to be back, but it looks increasingly unlikely now. So they had 3 major players flagged, and that was Callum Wilson, St. Maximin, and Bruno Guimaraes as well. All had hamstring problems. All, I think, earmarked for a return around about now, but none of them were cited in training ground images in midweek. And Howe didn't really give us much today. He said everyone's improved, but he's going to leave his team used to the time we get it. Mm-hmm. So no help there. There was a suggestion that Bruno has been training this week, and there's been some crafty photography going on around him. So he's got the best chance of the 3, but it doesn't look good for Wilson and St. Maximin, which probably rubber stamps Isaac up front and Fraser and Almer on either side of it.
Okay.
Elsewhere, Shelby's still out, ahead of schedule in his recovery, but out for a while. Kraft's out all 2023. And Carl Darlow's out for the next 6 to 8 weeks. So we've just signed Karius.
Okay. I remember
to play a backup to Pope.
Yep, Champions League star.
Indeed.
I remember him well. He did ever so well there. Bournemouth. So I've lost track of who's managing Bournemouth. That's Gary O'Neill.
It is.
What has he been revealing ahead of this clash?
Yeah, still interim boss, I think, for the time being, but he's doing pretty good. So Pearson and Rothwell are still out. Mm-hmm. Stanislas is back in training, so could come into contention. David Brooks was the major update. He is a former FPL sort of cult figure, really. He did all right. Has been battling cancer, of course, and has been successful in that. Played for the development side, I think, at the end of August in his comeback game, but has picked up a bit of a hamstring strain in his recovery. So very common, as O'Neill said, for that to happen after so long out. He's just had a bit of a setback, so we won't be seeing him anytime soon. But at least he's back near a return anyway. Okay,
just a couple of messages in the live chat just addressing. Rune said I need to turn my sound up, but my sound is looking like quite good on my monitor here, and also Dean says that I sound good to him. So Rune, perhaps turn your volume up, maybe. But do let me know if the volume is not high enough. Definitely. Also, people have been asking, because you're a Newcastle fan as well. Are you wildcarding this week?
I'm not. No. I'm one of the few who isn't.
So if you were to wildcard, which Newcastle players would you get in?
Well, I've brought Trippier in regardless, even though I'm not on a wild card. I can see the appeal of a double up with Pope. I'd probably stop short of that myself, but that's maybe less analytical than that sort of inherent negative feeling I got towards me on the team.
Yeah.
Isaac, I would consider, if it wasn't for the fact that there's that much competition with Tony and Mitrovic. I think Isaac's probably got the best fixture of the next 3, so now would be the time to move for him, especially with Wilson crawling his way back to fitness. I like what I saw at Liverpool. He took his goal real, and even the miss last weekend when he tried to dink it, that shows a bit of confidence in himself. That sort of finish, even though it didn't come off. So I'd rather have a striker than sort of someone who's cowering and not getting into those positions. So I do like Isaac, and if I was wildcarding, I would be tempted, I think, to take a punt on him. Right. Trippier for sure.
Okay,
so Trippier 1, Pope 2, and then Isaac 3 would be.
I've got all 3 on my wildcard.
Have you?
So I'm glad you said that. I would have panicked then if you hadn't. Okay, let's move on. Spurs against Leicester. Now, this is a tricky one. Leicester, once again, lots of interest in Leicester, but their form's not good. Meanwhile, with Spurs, there's always talk about rotation. What clues do we have, if any? Let's start with Spurs first.
Yeah, we got a lot. We got a lot of quotes from Conte, which I transcribed into the team news article yesterday. If you want to head to the site and look at that, but injury wise, it's pretty easy. It's only Lucas Moura who's unavailable. As for rotation, so he was firstly asked if Son was undroppable. Clearly, that was a pointed question from a reporter because his form has been pretty poop. But he said Conte said there was no player who was undroppable. Then went on a bit of a long babble, which talking about trying to help his player avoid injury. So you're not quite sure whether he's hinting at rotation or whether he's not. He went on to talk about his wing backs as well. So someone suggested that Emerson Royal wasn't very good, I think, in the press conference. Said he was very happy with Emerson, said that he is fatigued, however. Also went on to say that Perisic could play on either flank. And that Sessegnon probably deserved a recall, as did Kulusevski. But he was giving out a lot of mixed messages.
Okay.
I don't think we can really read anything to that, apart from maybe that Perisic playing on either flank thing, which I think a lot is what's been caught onto by a lot of Spurs fans and journalists alike, who seem to be siding with Perisic starting on the right this weekend, and Sessegnon on the left, with Emerson rested, because Doherty's not quite there yet. He's not going to be considered just now by the sounds of it.
So, what do you reckon? Do you think Son is going to start?
I think he probably will.
Okay.
I think this would be a time to get some form back against Leicester. I could see Richarlison, who probably doesn't deserve to drop out, but we saw that with Kulusevski. I could see it going back to Kulu, Son, and Kane again up top, with Richarlison on the bench. On merit, it should be Kulusevski, Kane, and Richarlison, but undroppable was a word that Conte used before with Son, and he's persevered with him through this run.
Okay.
Would he take him out the line now when he has got a great chance to score against the bottom of the table side who've been leaking goals for fun? That'd be my interpretation of it. I don't know that for sure. All eyes on Paul O'Keefe, but of course even he has proven fallible in the last couple of weeks. Sorry, Paul. You've been a great help this season. So we don't know for sure, but all eyes on Paul's account in case he's got any.
Okay, so yeah, if you're not familiar with that, it's search for Paul O'Keefe on Twitter. He's often very accurate with the Spurs lineups. Now Leicester. Now there was something that caught my eye. Rodgers was saying he seemed to be saying we're just going to attack and lose. But I mean, what was his actual quote?
Well, I didn't actually see that quote. I've got.
That's my interpretation of it.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, he's tried every permutation, going 3 at the back, 4-3-3, whatever. Ndidi in defence, Marty in defence, Vardy bench last weekend. So he's searching for the right four. He's got nothing really new on the injury news front. I think Dennis Pratt should be back from a foot injury, and apart from that, it's just Pereira and Bertrand who are out. He's been given back into Danny Ward. We think he's going to keep his place. Seem to be suggesting that, and that it wasn't just his fault that they conceded all the goals. Also had a bit of a damning thing to say about Castagna. He said that to get back into the side, he needs to train well. So that might be hinting at more game time for Thomas and Justin. So yeah, it's what he does this weekend. Does he bring in the new centre half, Wout Faes? His name is, a Belgian lad, David Luiz lookalike. Certainly are short of stoppers at the back, so he could be brought in for his debut, but could go 3 at the back to try and suffocate that Spurs attack, and then maybe sacrifice Barnes, what we've seen in the past. If there's a wing-back system, then Barnes generally isn't part of it because he's a natural winger.
I'll read out that quote as well, just for the benefit of those listening to the podcast. It's actually on screen for those watching the video. It says, Rodgers on the Spurs game, we know it's going to be a very difficult game. We can't sit back and let it happen. Our intention is to go and play our game, play with that courage and that aggression in our game. Given that lost them 5-2 against Brighton last time out, and they've been awful all season, that's why my interpretation was we're going to go out, attack and lose.
Yeah, that makes me even more nervous about not owning Kane this week. He's the only person I don't really own who I'm worried about this weekend, and I think he could score a hatful.
Yeah, I don't have any Spurs on my wild card. A couple of people asking about my wild card there. So let's have a look at Brighton. No, not Brighton. Brentford, sorry. a different, similar chairman, but Brentford against Arsenal. Let's go for Arsenal first, because I believe Arteta didn't say anything about Zinchenko, but you've since understood there could be something about Zinchenko.
He did actually address Zinchenko towards the end of the press conference. Yeah. So at first he was asked about his injury news, and he said that he can't give anything right now. So it'll be after tomorrow when they have the last training session, because it is a Sunday game. So he batted everything back with a straight bat. He was asked about Zinchenko later in the press conference. So he has been reportedly ruled out of international duty with Ukraine because of a calf problem. Now, Arteta acknowledged that was the case, but then went on to say that doesn't necessarily mean he's not playing this weekend. So I don't know how that would work if he plays in Gameweek 8 and then is suddenly unfit to represent Ukraine.
I'm no expert on footballers, but I think they need calves to run.
Yeah, so I think he might be being economical with the truth, and I'm sure Zinchenko was going to be out of this one. Okay. Smith Rowe's out as well. He pulled out with I think it was the warm down actually after the Man United game. He suffered another groin injury to recurrence of the same thing. So he was another one who was briefly touched on, but we didn't get an exact prognosis. Thomas Partey's back in training as well. So again, we didn't hear anything on him from Arteta, but I think he's been training for the best part of the last fortnight when there's been a hiatus. So the thinking is that he's going to be involved in the squad this weekend. Cedric Suarez has got a knock as well. He's been out, and Nelson and any other long-term ones. So we know that they're out. But yeah, much like Howe and much like Cooper and various others, Gerrard, Arteta being, very, very coy on the team news front.
Oh, you've got an awful collection of managers for this season, but you're hoping some get relegated just to even out the sort of liars and non-liars.
Bring back Bielsa with his named 11s.
Yep. That was glory days. Brentford then. This one I was waiting on last, and then when I saw it, I thought I shrugged. But nevertheless, there is some news at Brentford.
Yeah, it's fairly low key. So Canos is back in contention. He's had a hamstring injury, so he's available. I think Pinnock and Norgard are still out, but Pinnock's certainly not too far away. So yeah, I think that's it for the Brentford team news front. I think what we might see from Brentford is another horses for courses formation, because Frank likes these 3-5-2s against the big six.
Rightio. And the final match, Everton against West Ham. Once again, both teams are of interest because the fixtures are getting better. They play each other, and of course they've got lots of cheap players there, particularly sort of cheap defenders that people are interested in and maybe needed if they want to perhaps bench their Liverpool, Chelsea, etc. assets. So let's start with Everton. Could Calvert-Lewin be back? Is that what Frank Lampard's saying?
It looks like it. Yeah, he's close according to Lampard. Probably I would reckon bench duty at first, because they've got Maupay now, so there's no need to rush him back. Insert your own joke there about Maupay. But he's close. They're going to see if he's going to be ready or not to start the game. But they have got the national break coming up, so 2 weeks of further training. They might just not take any risks with Calvert-Lewin.
I saw also that Frank Lampard was mentioning about Patterson as well, who perhaps because he knew that Patterson is actually on my wild card and I may be playing him, but he was talking Patterson up as well, which I like for a player that I'm bringing in.
Yeah, I've seen an interview with him in last week, if that's when you're referring to, when he was I think he said what a start of the season or something he's had. Yeah. So he's part of that. Seems like a fairly solid back four now. Certainly after the Merseyside derby when they kept a clean sheet, definitely got nudged ahead of Coleman now at right back. We thought he might be just in place as a wing back, but he's now playing as an orthodox fullback as well. So that's good. Seems secure for the moment. Elsewhere, we've covered Calvert-Lewin. Decore's fit.
Yeah.
But Pickford's out. He's the latest addition to the injury list. Yeah, thigh problem. So that will ensure a playing $4 million goalkeeper this weekend. I don't know if you're in the market for a cheaper temporary fix. If you're on a free hit. So he's out, I think, just to the other side of the international break, along with the longer term ones like Holgate, Townsend, Mina, and Godfrey. But yeah, Calvert-Lewin close.
Now, West Ham, they were in European action last night. Once again, a lot of interest there. So I know he's been saying something about Bowen, which might interest people who are thinking of bringing him in, but also we'll find out what else he's been saying about his players.
Yeah, he was in a modest sense. I think he was saying he's getting back to showing signs of what he was last season. Was on the bench on Thursday, which is a good sign. That's not a demotion because of form. That's because of Europa League rotation. And in the previous week, he came on and scored. I think a penalty, wasn't it? In the previous
it was
conference?
because Lanzini
was off the pitch. Yeah,
and Lanzini, I believe, scored a penalty in Europe last night. So
he did indeed. Yeah, so we think
Lanzini
Lanzini is at the head of the queue, but Lanzini doesn't often play in the Premier League. So whoever's deputy, much like Liverpool with Milner and Salah, I think that is key. So yeah, no fresh concerns from last night, according to Moyes. So Cresswell came back last night, as did Dawson, and Souček, I think, had a minor thing, but he's fine. Okay. So Cresswell coming back is notable for Emerson owners. Now, it's not necessarily an either or because we saw them in the same team last night. Cresswell playing as a centre half, left-sided centre half, and then Emerson as a wing back. But is he going to play with a wing back system every week? Probably not. So there is that nagging doubt about Emerson, which there isn't with, for example, Patterson at the moment, or maybe even Nico Williams. I know they've got Aurier, but I do think Aurier's backup.
Yeah.
So I think Emerson's still, for me, despite the fixtures, which are good, probably third in line in the budget defender queue. They've just got two injuries that I know about, and that's Aguerd and Johnson, who are still out.
Just looking at the chat here, FPL Spartans is saying, I don't understand this Pickford love, because a lot of people assuming that Everton will concede because the mighty Pickford's not there. And he was saying Begovic is just as capable, if not better. Well, we shall find out. But yes, he is also a very good keeper. Let's have a look at just a quick roundup of the sort of the key news that we've got here. I believe Stanislas is fit to play at Bournemouth. We pretty certain that Martinez is going to play for Villa. Diego Costa could even play. He's fit to play anyway in Canos there. And then Aurier is very questionable for Nottingham Forest, not only because Nico Williams has that place, but we've got visa issues. Yeah. And then I've just put in a sort of a block thing with some Maximum, Wilson, Bruno Guimaraes, all fitness. We don't know. We don't know whether they're going to be there, so they're questionable. And we're going to say Zinchenko a major doubt, I would say, from what
I think so. Yeah. I think that's fair to say now. I think based on what's happened to the national squad. Yeah.
And definitely out. I didn't put Pickford in, so apologies for that. But Pickford is out, as is Wilson, Harry Wilson, Brooks, Darlow, Jimenez, Pinnock, and Norgard. So it's a sort of also Rans, not the big names, but that's the sort of week it is really. We're asking about the big name players, but we're going to need some of those cheaper players as well. Once again, please do press that like button. Please do also subscribe. Go and tell your friends to subscribe as well. Hope this has been useful. Neil, good luck with your game week. You're not wildcarding. You got your wildcard in your back pocket. You're going to use it?
I have. I think it'll be over the international break, but and it might have to be if there was train strikes happen in Game Week 9. But I will keep Gameweek 13 in mind as well, because that could be a nice alternative if I'm well set up for before then. But I think the money would be on a Gameweek 9 wildcard.
We're also being asked who our captains are. I'm going to wrap this up in a sec because we could be here for an hour answering questions. But my captain is going to be Haaland because he is amazing. Who is your captain this week?
Yeah, it's Haaland. I mean, I don't own Kane, and if I had Kane, it would be more of a choice. But without Kane, it is most certainly Haaland.
Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to wrap it up now. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for listening. I'll let you go now, Neil. And thanks everyone. See you soon.
Hello.